Hi, and welcome to Face Negotiation. Here's where we're going: collectivism and individualistic cultures, self-construal, varied self-images within a culture, the multiple faces of face, predictable styles of conflict management, complicating factors, power distance and perceived threats, application, a competent intercultural facework, and critique, passing the test with a good grade. Ting Toomey assumes that people of every culture are always negotiating face. Face is the projected image of oneself in a relational situation. Face work is specific verbal and nonverbal messages that help to maintain and restore face loss and to uphold and honor face gain. Facework of people from individualistic cultures will be strikingly different from the facework of those from collectivistic cultures. Face maintenance is a crucial intervening variable that ties culture to people's way of handling conflict. The type of culture leads to the type of construal, leads to the type of face maintenance, which in turn leads to the type of conflict management. Pause this frame and review some techniques of third-party mediation. Collectivism and individualistic cultures. Ting Toomey bases face negotiation theory on the distinction between collectivism and individualism. Collectivism and individualism differ in how one perceives self, goals, and duty. In a collectivistic culture, people identify with a larger group responsible for providing care in exchange for group loyalty, a we identity. In an individualistic culture, people look out for themselves and their immediate families, the I identity. More than two-thirds of the world are born into collectivistic cultures. Less than one-third live in individualistic cultures. The we identity of the Japanese is quite foreign to the I identity of the American, who values individualistic needs and goals over group needs and goals. Self-construal, varied self-images within a culture. People are not cultural clones. People within a culture differ on the relative emphasis they place on individual self-sufficiency and group solidarity. Self-construal is self-image. It's the degree to which people conceive of themselves as relatively autonomous from or connected to others. The independent self values the I identity and is more self-based oriented. This is prevalent within individualistic cultures. The interdependent self values we identity and emphasizes relational connectedness, which is closely aligned with collectivism. Relational reality of self-image within the same culture can vary. Self-construal is a better predictor of conflict styles than ethnic or cultural backgrounds. The distinction between collectivistic and individualistic cultures is still important. The multiple faces of face. Face is a universal concern. The extension of self-concept is a vulnerable and identity-based resource. There are three orientations of face: self-face, other face, and mutual face. Face is a universal concern. Face concern is regard for self-face, other face, or mutual face. Face restoration is a self-concerned facework strategy used to preserve autonomy and defend against the loss of personal freedom. Face giving is an other concerned facework strategy used to defend and support another person's need for inclusion. Most people who are raised in a collectivistic culture tend to privilege other face or mutual face. People raised in a more individualistic culture are more concerned with self face. Predictable styles of conflict management. There are 5 generally accepted responses to conflict: avoiding, which is withdrawal; obliging, in other words, giving in; compromising, in other words, negotiation; integrating, or problem solving; and dominating, or competing. Avoiding is responding to conflict by withdrawing from an open discussion. Obliging is accommodating or giving in to the wishes of another in a conflict situation. Compromising is conflict management by negotiation or bargaining, seeking a middle way. Dominating is competing to win when people's interests conflict. Integrating is characterized by problem solving through open discussion, collaboration, and a win-win resolution of conflict. Ting, Toomey, and Altzel stress 3 responses associated with Western countries. An ethnically diverse sample identified 3 new conflict styles: emotional expression, passive aggression, and third-party help. Emotional expression is managing conflict by the disclosure or venting of feelings. Passive aggression is making indirect accusations, showing resentment, procrastination, and other behaviors aimed at thwarting another's resolution of conflict. Third-party help is a method of conflict management where disputing parties seek the aid of a mediator, arbitrator, or respected neutral party to help them resolve their differences. Pause this frame and consider your past experiences with conflict in the context of this new vocabulary. Application: competent intercultural facework. Team Toomey believes cultural knowledge, mindfulness, and facework interaction skills are requirements for effectively communicating across cultures. Pause this frame and examine the face negotiation model in the context of your experiences with both individualistic and collectivistic cultures. Consider the differences in self-construal, face concern, and conflict style. Complicating factors: power distance and perceived threats. Power distance is a way culture deals with status differences, social hierarchies, and the degree to which low power members accept unequal power as natural. The collectivism individualism distinction is more complicated when power differences are taken into consideration. Complicating factors: power distance and perceived threats. There are 7 additive factors that increase the level of face threat. Violated central facework rule in a culture. Cultural difference causes mistrust. The importance of the topic. The power of the other. The harm that will be done. The other initiates the conflict. And the regard of the other as an outgroup member. Application: competent intercultural facework. Knowledge is the most important dimension of facework competence. Mindfulness is the recognition that things are not always what they seem. It's seeking multiple perspectives in conflict situations. Interaction skill is the ability to communicate appropriately, effectively, and adaptively. Critique: passing the test with a good grade. Most cross-cultural researchers analyze different cultures from a highly interpretive perspective. Ting, Toomey, and Oatsill are committed to the objective social science agenda. They look for measurable commonalities across cultures linked to behavior. The procedures and findings are cause for concern. The analysis is based solely on self-report data, which may be self-serving. Survey items that assess conflict resolution behavior for integrating, collaborating, and win-win outcomes may be questionable. Pause this frame and consider a four-cultural test of face negotiation theory. So to review our discussion of face negotiation theory, we discussed collectivism and individualistic cultures, self-construal, varied self-images within a culture, the multiple faces of face, predictable styles of conflict management, complicated factors, power distance and perceived threats, application, competent intercultural facework, and we ended with the critique, passing the test with a good grade.